Good evening, everyone. Welcome to A Journey in Boots from Trauma to Triumph. I'm Dr. Royster. I am the CEO of Semper Motis. It is a private practice that is compiled of individuals who have served their community and their country. And we treat everything from adjustment disorder to personality disorders. And tonight we have a special guest. He is my co-host tonight because Dorothy's on vacation. This is retired Chief Master Sergeant Scott Hendrick. So
co-host. Holy smokes. Dorothy goes out of town. They'll let anybody do this, really, you know.
I know. I had to practice 2 weeks in a row, and the first time I did this, I canceled it like immediately. So I'm hoping tonight goes better.
Man, we are scraping the bottom of the barrel. We're dusting me off and throwing me in for Dorothy. Where is Dorothy anyway?
She's having sangria. She didn't tell me.
Oh my goodness. Man, I would love some sangria.
Right? We're going to try.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm thankful you said yes. I was a little worried I was going to have to do this all by myself.
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. This will be fun. Looking forward to it.
Who is our guest tonight?
Yeah. So, wow. So his name is Jason Miller. Mm-hmm. Him and I graduated from Essex High School in 1995. And we'll get into some of the details. Man, I feel so old when I say that, right? Like,
I'm older than you are.
Yeah. We were born in the late 1900s. How's that sound?
So before we bring Jason to the stage, I have a comment here that I'm going to bring up. And Nisa says, hubby needs that t-shirt. So please tell me about that t-shirt.
Look at this. Look at this. This shameless, this wrong side. Shameless plug for Liberty OVE. Yes. Go to libertyove.org. Get you a DD214 vet alumni shirt. The guy who created this, man, super talented guy, right? With his vision. Yeah, I did that. It was kind of block lettering. Yeah, it was simple.
You got to give Mike some kudos. He's been on the
show. Huge kudos. Here, 3 weeks ago, Mike was on the show.
Yep.
Talking about Liberty OVE and all the great things they do. So you can go to libertyove.org and go to swag. I think it's under the swag section. Mm-hmm. And you can get a whole line. Man, you can get all kinds of stuff over there. They got, I think I created probably 100 different products that you can buy.
Yeah, you did. And the website.
And all the proceeds go directly to helping veterans, emergency responders overcome their battle with PTSD. So love the comment. Thank you so much. Go get your limited Liberty OVE. libertyove.org.
Right.
Yeah.
It talks about the trauma protocol and
absolutely
all kinds of different services they provide. So.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of, and this is what I want all of our emergency responders, veterans, fire, everybody to know. There is, and I say this firsthand. When you get out of, I did 26 years in the Air Force. When you get out, you kind of feel like you're, free range chicken again. You're like, just wandering around in space and time.
Displaced, depression.
But absolutely. But there's a ton of good human beings in this world, contrary to what you see on the news, contrary to sometimes what you see in person. There's a ton of phenomenal individuals that are out here pulling and pushing to help each and every single one of our veterans and emergency responders each and every single day, right? Like if I couldn't even begin to add up the hours that Mike Murray has in, doing this or, things like our friend Ty Orr over at Sworn to Serve, mm-hmm. He created an entire clothing line specifically for military banter for our active duty and veterans. He's got some phenomenal gear and, a portion of his proceeds go to all these nonprofits that help all of our first responders and veterans and things of that nature. So, man, I can't lift those guys up enough. So huge shout out to Mike Murray, huge shout out to Ty Orr. For doing the good work, right? Continuing to push, continuing to move the needle mm-hmm. on veteran suicide, emergency responder suicide, because it's a huge, huge problem in our culture today. And I don't even want to begin to think where it would be if we didn't have those folks pushing and pulling each and every single day. So huge shout out to them. But enough about that. Let's get Jason Miller in here. Man, what a great guy. Graduated, like I said, in the year of our Lord 1995 from Essex County. Look, coming to us live and direct from Essex County. Let's give it up for my man, Jason Miller.
Hey, everybody.
So, Jason, man, we go back, dude. I was thinking about it in the pre-interview, man. We go back a while.
Yes,
it's so great. I think the last time I saw your face and your amazing haircut was at our 20th high school reunion?
I think it was, yes.
Woo!
Yeah, I think it was.
Man, we pushing it.
Yes.
So tell us what you've been up to, man, since then. What have you been up to?
Nothing much, man. Just kind of just working, doing my thing, and doing what I enjoy doing. I enjoy my career, and they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So,
that's it. So why don't you take a minute and tell the folks what you do for a living?
I am a deputy sheriff with the Essex County Sheriff's Office. I have been at the Essex County Sheriff's Office now for almost a year. However, I have September will be about 23 years total in law enforcement in Virginia altogether.
Wow. And man, I tell you, I often said when I retired, I was going to come back and be the mayor of Tappahannock. But
Really?
I did. I swear to God, I did. I was like, I'm going to get out and I'm going to move back to Tappahannock and I'm going to be the mayor and I'm going to help out that town. I'm going to do it. Right. Like, and then I found Destin, Florida, and I didn't go back. So, but for you, how does that feel, man? Serving the community in which you grew up, right? Talk to us about that. That's amazing.
He's a little frozen.
It's a good feeling. It's truly amazing to serve in the community that I grew up in. I actually started my career as a jail officer at Northern Neck Regional Jail, which is the next county over Richmond County.
Yeah, right up the hill.
And I transitioned to patrol, and I was an officer for Tappahannock Police Department for roughly 5 years. I did about 16 years in Caroline County, which is also a neighboring county.
Yep.
And I got a call from the sheriff last year, and here at Essex County that I've known my whole life, my whole career.
Is that Arnie, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, Sheriff Arnie.
Yep. Good for him.
And he gave me a phone call and he said, you need to come home.
That's it.
I want you here, and it's time to come home.
It's time to come home.
I talked over with my wife, and she supported me 100%. And here I am, and it's a great feeling. Dude, it's almost been like a class reunion. It's been like a family reunion.
29 years ago, by the way.
Yeah, when I go out into the community, I see some of the people that I grew up beside, that I went to school with, that I knew growing up, and I mean, people are coming to me and it's like, hug me, man. I'm so glad you're back here, and
that's awesome.
I'm so glad you're back home. And it's a good feeling, man. It is a great feeling.
I tell you, man.
Until you give him a ticket.
Yeah. Like don't give me no ticket. Come on. What's a couple miles an hour between friends?
I get pulled over down here, and I'm like, man, don't you guys know what I do?
I'm like, no. I mean, tell it to the judge. Tell it to
right, pretty much.
Wow, man. So I tell you, I can't begin to fathom, the things that you do each and every single day. And let's be honest, and sometimes to kind of an ungrateful population, right? Like,
yes,
very, very little times are we like, oh, Officer Miller, like, come, hand out this award for this kid who's killing it. It's, hey, we need to go arrest this cat because he's, doing X, Y, Z, right? Like, it's not. I don't want to say the underbelly of society, because I think there's a huge connotation associated with that. But like folks that need some help, right? Like that are in real need of help. What is that like? How does that feel like each and every single day? That's got to be when you put your uniform on, that pressure that you feel each and every single day, man, like talk to us, because for me in the Air Force, we're in the Air Force, we're smart, right? Like we send people, like we launch the aircraft.
Yes, we're very smart.
Go do our bidding, and then we fix it when they come back. So, I mean, I've deployed, yes, but not, outside the wire each and every single day. When you put that uniform on, and that may be, no kidding, your last day. So kind of talk to us about, what that pressure is like for you.
It can be a pressure situation. Where I put my uniform on, and it's every day it's a mindset. You have to be in this line of work. I feel like it helps when you're two different people. At home and with my family and my children and my wife, I'm Jason, and when I put the uniform on, I'm Deputy Miller.
That's
and
right.
you have to be two different people, because you can't. One thing I've learned from all of my years of doing this is you can't let this job consume you. If you let it consume you, then it could be detrimental to your physical and mental health. But to touch on what you said about me having to deal with society's worst, I remember in the academy, one of our instructors said that you have 95% of society, which is most of society, are decent folks. They might not know all the rules, all the laws, but they try to do the right thing. They try to be decent folks. There's only that 5% that are the ones that do otherwise. But in my profession, unfortunately, I deal with that 5% 95% of the time.
95% of the time, right?
Right. And it's also unfortunate that a lot of times when I do meet good citizens, unfortunately, they're victims. So I try at least once throughout my shift. Sometimes I get busy and I can't do it, but I try at least once throughout my shift to make a positive encounter, at least one, with a total stranger.
Yeah.
I'll pull up to a convenience store and I'll see someone with a nice classic car. Obviously, they like those cars, so I'll go up and I'll strike a conversation. Hey man, that's a really nice car, and I'll start talking to them about it. Or I'll see a young lady and she's got like these adorable kids, and I'll say, hey, your kids are adorable, and we'll start talking about that. Just something positive, because that reminds me of, okay, these are the folks that I'm out here doing this job for.
It's serving ultimately, right? I mean, that's the big thing that you're doing is serving those individuals. That's super powerful to be super aware, right? Like, you're not a rookie. You've been doing this for, like you said, 20, 30, 24 years. And so you've created those adaptations where that you gotta figure out how to remain still a human being and connect with people, all the while still being, serving your community and protecting, right? I mean, that's ultimately what you're there for.
Exactly.
That's super cool, man. Super cool. And I'm sure that goes a long way for you, because now people don't just see you as the law, right? Like, they see you as a human being, and they get to, maybe peek a little bit behind the uniform. And I think that's something that Arnie, and you and I have known Arnie for a very long time. I think that's something that he did really, really well, is letting people know that he was a human as well, and still, when he had to do the job, he had to do the job, right? Like that's what we have to do.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely been a role model of mine throughout my entire career. And one thing about Sheriff Holmes is I trust him. He's a very genuine, down to earth gentleman. He, he's the same guy in the office, at home, in the street, and he's genuine. He's straight up, and he's human. And
so let's peel that back a little bit, right? Because I think there's a lot of parallelisms between active duty military and first responders and police and fire and EMS, and that thing that magical word that you hit on is trust.
Mm-hmm.
what is Arnie or any of those folks that you work with? What are just give me two things that builds trust. Like, where does that come from?
Well, the trust comes from standing by your word. That's a big thing. If you say you're going to take care of something and you do it, and if you don't do it, you can say, well, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't do it, and you can explain why. But more on a tactical standpoint, trust is knowing that that partner or that person that you're going to that call for service with has your back, and knowing that they will cover you, and they will do what they need to do to make sure you're safe, the citizens are safe, and they're safe, and everyone walks out of it unscathed.
That's awesome.
I know for 10 years of my career, I was a member of a SWAT team. 2 of those 10, I was the team leader, and the key word there is team. You have to trust one another, because a lot of folks don't know what SWAT does, but they always say when the police call the police. That's actually a good analogy.
That's it, right?
When we're called, the situation is already bad. It's not
something's come off the rails, right?
It's not a oh, maybe we can negotiate it. No, it's gotten to the point where talking's over, negotiations are not working. The quote unquote bad guy or bad girl is intent on doing what they want to do, and it's so dangerous to the point where a normal patrol officer says, hey, I can't handle
it's outside of my scope, right?
Yeah, it's outside of my scope. I need assistance. So it's already bad when we get there. So
yeah, they call it pay grade down here. So they're like, we need to call SWAT. This is above our pay grade.
It's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So on that team, you have to trust each other like family.
Yes.
When you go into a room of the unknown, you have to know that the person that's on your left or right shoulder that's going in that room with you has your back. It's protecting you just like you're protecting them. And one of the biggest compliments I think any police officer can pay another police officer is when we say, I'll walk through a door with you anytime.
Yep.
And that means that I trust you implicitly, and I know that I am safe with you. And when you hear that from another police officer, that is a huge compliment.
Yeah, that's a boost of pride that you won't get anywhere else. For
That's
sure.
for sure.
That's super cool, man. That's super cool. And so I'd like to get your perspective. We talk about trust and we talk about having people's backs, right? In today's environment or arena, right? Because you guys are always at war. We did, several years ago, we did go through a dark period for the Blue, right? I mean, the reason they came out with Back the Blue is because you guys were going through that, and that was something that needed to happen. So, what is that like? How did that affect you with when people were openly advocating for defunding the police and taking some of the resources away, whether it be training or equipment or things of that nature? Like, I know it's a small town there in Virginia, in Eastern Virginia, but like, did that get to that level in your area? And then if so, like, how did you navigate that? Or being from a small town, did the community kind of wrap their arms around you? Because that's a benefit of being in a small town. So what was your perspective during that time?
Well, we definitely felt the impact. Everywhere felt the impact. There was things that happened 4, 5, 6 states over, and we still felt the impact because most public looks at us as a whole, regardless of what state you work for, what county you work for, town, city. They look at us as a whole. And unfortunately, human beings have a tendency to compartmentalize. And it's if you have this person doing X, Y, and Z, well, everyone associated with that person is also doing X,
Right.
Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. And that's a lot of times that's furthest from the truth. I think in that situation, I think everything that took place, there were some positives and there were some negatives. Some of the positives, I believe, is us as police officers sat down and said, hey, what can we do? Those of us that want to do the job and do it right, what can we do to earn the public's trust?
Right.
Okay, let's be more transparent. Let's let them see what we do. Let's get out into these communities and let's talk to people. Yeah, they see us all the time, but most of the time, like we said earlier, there are a lot of times people only saw us when it was bad. But
Something
now,
bad. Right.
yeah, now it's different. We have national night. We do things with the Special Olympics. We we do things like Shop with a Cop, where we bring in kids and we take them shopping for the holidays, and we do community events. We have several guys on our staff right now that coach football. They coach high school football. They coach little league football. They mentor, and now people are starting to see, well, you know what? All those guys are not bad. All those guys are, some of those guys, most of those guys are doing this because they actually care about people and they want to do it. And I always tell folks, especially a lot of my non-law enforcement friends, me as a law enforcement officer, I probably despise a corrupt officer more than the average citizen. And
Absolutely.
The reason being is because it's a hard job doing this the right way. It's a hard job being 100%. That guy that always walks that line and does it the way you're supposed to do it. I work hard at that every day. So for this, and it's an honor and it's a privilege to wear that badge and to serve your community and to protect your community. And I feel honored every day when I go out there and I do that. And then you have some guy or some girl that goes out here and they just want to abuse their authority. Yeah, that angers me because it makes those of us that do this job the right way look bad. It makes us look really bad because, again, we're compartmentalized. So if you have one officer that does one thing that's not correct or excessive or abusive, we're all looked at like that. And a lot of times it's unfair because if you think of the thousands and thousands and thousands of police officers that go out here every day and do their best to do the job the right way, and no one sees it, and we don't do it for the acknowledgement, we don't do it for the kudos, we don't do it for, hey, you did a good job, or the pat on the back. We don't do it for that. We do it because we care and we want to do it. Thousands upon thousands of police officers every day do their job the right way. No one reports it on the news. It's not in the paper.
Oh, no.
Nothing. But you get one officer that does one thing that's just off the rails. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's it's not just with police. It's with every profession. It's with every profession. You have thousands and thousands of teachers that go to work every day and do the job the right way. No acknowledgement. You let one teacher go out here and do something wrong.
Right.
That's it. Doctors, lawyers. It's in every profession. And that's
it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, as humans, that's what we do. We don't think about the thousands upon thousands of people that do the good stuff. We focus on that handful of people that does everything the wrong way. And then it makes all of us look bad, and everyone compartmentalizes and says, everyone does that. And it's not the case.
100, yeah.
So let's roll back a little bit. I got to get into this part, right? So, two things. First off, what made you decide I'm going to go serve my community for no money?
Well,
you guys do make a lot. So, and I don't think people understand that. I think people seem
No,
to
we
think
don't.
that you're making just like six figures when you come out of the academy and
No, we don't.
ride nice cars and you're doing all
No,
this.
we don't.
Man, I
Right.
see you be balling out there. I see you.
No,
Don't be
we don't.
playing. I see you. No, it's a valid point, right? Like it is.
Yeah.
It's super valid. Talk to us.
Yeah, we don't.
Talk to us about that. Like,
No, we don't make a
makes
lot.
you want to jump in that pool?
Yeah, we don't make a lot.
Like it's one of the few professions where you actually risk your life every single day for less than six figures. Like, who said that was a great idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what made you decide, you had a 5-year break between, high school graduation and actually entering the police force. So what made you go, I'm going to the academy?
Well, my story is a little different. I never as a teenager thought I would ever be a police officer or anything like that. I have two family members. I have a lot of family members that are either military or law enforcement, by the way. My dad was Army.
Clearly, you got one on here right now.
Yeah. My dad was Army. He was a World War II veteran. I was a late baby, but and his brothers, they were all in the military as well. I have cousins that are law enforcement. Two of my cousins that I'm really close with, they were actually corrections officers. And I was kind of at the point in my life where I was kind of unsure what I wanted to do. I had done a little college. I still wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. And at the time I saw that they were in corrections, and I was like, wow, that looks like something I'd like. It looks structured. It looks important. Looks disciplined. It looks like something I'd like to do. Well, I applied at 2 places and I got turned down, and kind of got discouraged, and I kind of left it alone. And I was doing just odd jobs and working just regular 9-to-5s to make ends meet. And I had a partner that used to work out at the gym with me, and he was a jail officer. And he said, hey, man, I think you'd be a good jail officer. And I was like, I tried that path. I got turned down so many times, I just gave it up. And he said, well, look, dude, where I work, we're hiring. All they can tell you is no. That's right. And I said, you know what? What the heck? Put in my application. About a week later, I get a phone call. They want to interview me. And this was Northern Neck Regional Jail over in Warsaw. And they interviewed me, and apparently I did a good job, as they brought me back in for the physical and the background check and all that. And I got hired. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm a jail officer. And
you done messed around and got hired.
Yeah, messed around and got hired. So,
I ran groups at Hampton Road Regional, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Lots of other time.
Yeah. Went to the academy, got my training, got certified as a jail officer. I stayed at the jail for a while. Now, a lot of folks don't know the difference between a jail and a prison. The main difference is a jail houses people that come fresh off the street. Right. So there can be people in the jail that haven't even been to court yet. They're just accused of a crime. They haven't been convicted. Prison, those guys have been convicted. They've gotten a sentence from a judge and they're serving their time. Jail can range from people that have been convicted of serving their time, and people that just got arrested for being drunk in public. So, I
have a question for you.
Yes.
I've ran groups in both environments, and my impression was people who are, sentenced. Well, they're sent to jail. They're a little more rowdy.
They can be because prisons are a little more structured, because you'll have a prison for, okay, these are your quote unquote problem children. We put them in this prison. This prison over here is for guys that are at the end of their sentence. They're older. They're pretty much self-sufficient. We put them in this prison. Then you got a prison over here for people that are just in between. So yeah, by the time they get to prison, they're a little reality set in. They're like, okay, yeah, I got to do this. There's no need to make this harder than what it is. I'm going to do this, do my time, and go home and try to make something out of myself when I get out.
Right.
A vast, and contrary to popular belief, a vast amount of people that are incarcerated, they do go in there and they go, you know what? This is a mistake. I messed up. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make something for myself. And a lot of those folks don't get a lot of credit for that. But a lot of those folks that end up incarcerated come out and they make something of themselves.
Yes.
So
They work really hard at it too.
A lot of people are like, oh, they'll always come back. They're repeat offenders. Yes, you have those repeat offenders. You do. But you also have those guys that, you know what? I made a mistake. I screwed up. I need to get myself together. I'm going to do something with my life when I get out of here. And they do. And I've actually had some come back to me with success stories. And it's like, wow, proud of you. You know, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
awesome.
It happens oftentimes. It happens. But being in the jail, I got to interact with a lot of the guys that work the street, the patrol officers, because they would bring the guys in. And some of them were a little rowdy. And sometimes the street officers needed some assistance getting them into the facility, and you know, whether it be I'd be able to talk them down and kind of negotiate with them, or some of them weren't talkable. Some of them didn't want to have a conversation, and some of them you had to encourage to comply. But a lot of those guys would tell me, "Hey, man, you know, I think you'd make a good patrol officer." And I was like, yeah, never really thought about it. And I had a lot of them come to me and tell me that. And I thought about it. And then I heard that Tappahannock Police was hiring for a police officer. I was like, hey, Tappahannock, I grew up there. Put in an application there. I had been at the jail for a little over 2 years. Put in an application at Tappahannock PD and got hired. I was like, wow. I'm a cop. So I got hired, and you have to go back through the academy again because jail academy and police academy are different. A lot of the things are very similar, but police academy is a little more extensive as far as the do's and don'ts of patrol. So it's a little longer academy. It's a little more extensive. So, and then when you graduate, they kind of make a not a big deal. It's kind of like a high school or college graduation. Your family can come up and you go on stage and you know you have a class speaker and everything like that. My mom went to my graduation with me and she gave me a locket. And in the locket was a picture of my father who I lost when I was 12. And I put that in my pocket. After I graduated, she told me, she said, you know, I never told you this. Your father always wanted you to be a policeman.
Wow.
And that hit home because
that's awesome.
Yeah, my dad was without a doubt my hero. Without a doubt. He had he found out he was diagnosed with cardiac disease when I wasn't even 1 year old. He had his first heart attack when I was 10 months old. And they had to do open heart surgery and they did a bypass. And they gave my dad 8 years to live. He had to retire from his job. He used to work at the military base in Indian Head, Maryland. And so he was stay-at-home dad. He was Mr. Mom. And Mom worked full-time. But they gave him 8. He lived 12. And he had his second heart attack when I was about, I want to say 7 or 8.
Oh, wow.
And when I was 12, he had a massive heart attack. I was actually the one that discovered him after he had his massive heart attack.
So where were you at this time when you were 12? Were you in Virginia or in Maryland still?
Yeah, we moved to Virginia when I was 2 years old. So I have
2. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I have memories of where we lived in Charles County, Maryland, because my mom still has family there, and we go visit and whatnot. So I have memories, but my life that I remember vividly has been in Virginia.
Yeah.
we were living in a part of Essex called Champlain at the
Yeah.
time, and we actually rented a house from one of my dad's old work buddies at the military base. And I'll never forget, it was December 6th, 1989. We had a long driveway, so I run the driveway to get home. My mom was in the house cleaning, and she was having problems getting one of the windows up. So I helped her get the window up, and she said, well, your dad's out back chopping wood. So I put my backpack down, and I ran outside, and there he was laying on the woodpile. So my mom had taught us, me and all my siblings, she had taught us, she taught us where my dad's nitroglycerin tablets were, how to give them to him, how many to give him, what to do, phone calls to make, everything. I immediately popped into action. I told Mom, I ran to the bedroom, I grabbed my dad's nitroglycerin pills. From the time I ran in the house, got his nitroglycerin pills, came back, he was gone.
Yeah.
Wow. That was it.
At 12 years old.
12 years old. And I think it hits different when you're a kid, because you don't even know what life is yourself.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'm 12. I still played with action figures. I had a Nintendo. I knew girls were cute, but if I caught one, I wouldn't know what to do with one.
Yeah, man.
And
look,
so I had so much left to do, and he's gone. And at a critical point in my life, because I'm about to be a teenager, he's supposed to be there to tell me do's and don'ts, and teach me right from wrong, teach me how to be a man, and he's gone. But now that I'm older, I look back and I go, it was a blessing, because he was only supposed to live 8 years and he lived 12.
Right. You know what? I was getting ready to ask you this. You had a huge experience with trauma, right? I mean, even at 12 years old. How did that shape your perspective on success now? How did going through that at 12 years old shape your perspective in regards to success now?
Going through that at 12, like I said, it was difficult because, again, like I said, I think it's a little different for a child, because we don't know what life is ourselves. And here is the guy that I think is Superman, and he's gone. And I went through a lot of emotions. Initially, I was in disbelief. No, this is a bad dream. I'm going to wake up and everything will be fine, and Dad will be here. This is just a terrible dream. And I went through anger, fear. I mean, you name it. Like I said, disbelief. You know how they say the stages of grief? You have denial,
denial,
I went through all of those.
bargaining, depression, anxiety.
Went through all of those, but it never really set in as being real to me until, unfortunately, I saw him in his casket.
Oh,
yeah.
And that's when it really set in. I was like, this is real. This is really happening. And the night of the wake, a lot of folks don't have wakes anymore, and I think it's a good thing. But back then it was kind of a tradition. You had a wake, and then you had the funeral.
Right.
And I was at the wake, and all of those pain, and I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And when the funeral came the next day, I was numb. I had cried all my tears. I was numb. I was just sitting there, and I was just like, and it snowed. And could see a lot of you guys didn't know that I had missed time, because that December, I don't know if you remember, it snowed.
It was 2 weeks off, right?
Yeah.
It
snowed for
2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. I remember that.
So a lot of you guys didn't know that I had went through this. You just thought I was on snow
Yeah.
time like you guys were. But it
Yeah.
it snowed and it stayed on the ground for almost January. And
Yeah. I want to say we
I
went to school
remember,
for a week and we're out for a
yeah,
month.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, and it was funny because my mom used to always tease my dad because he should always say he could smell snow. And the day
Mhm.
he passed, he was chopping wood, and mom said, "Well, honey, why don't you come relax?" And he was like, "No, I'm gonna make sure we have enough firewood. I
For
smell
the yeah.
snow." He died on the 6th. On the 8th, the snow hit, and it didn't disappear until January.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
like I said, a lot of you guys didn't know I went through that, and I remember the day of the funeral, just standing in that snow, holding my mom's hand,
Yeah.
and watching them lower my dad's casket down, and that was just a oof, man. And,
So
that was a feeling.
being a father now, and watching kids grow up and be an active role in their life and things of that nature, like how did going through that super traumatic experience at 12 years old shape you now to be, like the dude, right? Like everything that I've seen and followed you from afar, like you're a stand-up guy, even when you're there, right? Like you're present.
Mhm.
How does that perspective, like, how does that still play a role in your life today?
Well, first of all, before disclaimer, I have not always been like the best dad. I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, and I've uh, you know, had to pay for them. And unfortunately, my oldest daughter, she was the guinea pig.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I tell her all the time, you taught me how to be a dad because I
Oh,
had no clue. And that poor thing, she had to experience some things because I didn't know. And for a while, and because of unfortunate circumstances, I was a single dad for a while. So, her mother and I were co-parenting, but a lot of times it was me.
mhm.
And it was rough. It was rough. And I have to give my mom credit because my mom was like my dollar parent when I didn't know what to do. Hey mom, I got, this and this. What do I do? I mean,
Yeah.
a real quick funny story. I thought I was being, the cool dad, and I wanted to uh, wash my daughter's hair and put conditioner in it and blow dry, trying to help out her mom and show her that I'm a good dad. Well, my oldest daughter has really, really, really thick hair.
Mhm.
Like I still tease her to this day. I said, "You don't have a scalp. You have hair and you have brain.
Right.
There's no scalp." And when I dried that hair, it just said,
Right.
and I'm looking at it like, "Oh my God." So
What did I just do?
my poor daughter, I just put a ball cap on her. We got in my car. I drove 3 miles from mom's house and I knocked on the door and mom said, "What?" And I pulled the hat off and I said, "Help."
That,
But that day I learned how to do braids,
Yeah.
like pigtails,
Yep.
ponytails. I could do afro puffs. You could always tell the weekends my daughter was with me because she always had either pigtails or afro puffs because that's all daddy could do.
yeah, that's awesome. That's
But yeah,
awesome. I love it.
it's and not to try to take this off into something weird or crazy, but I remember having a dream. And you know how you have those dreams that are super vivid and you wake up and you're like, wow, that was just a dream.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I remember having a dream, and the dream started with me waking up in my bed, and I was waking up to the sound of my daughter and my dad's voice.
Wow.
And I get up, and my dad's sitting on the edge of my bed, and he's holding my daughter. And of course, I'm like, oh my God, it's my dad. I'm hugging him, and oh, I missed you, and all of this. And he's like, he's never left.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he goes, um, thank you for giving me such a beautiful granddaughter.
Oh.
And I woke up.
Wow.
And it was just one of those dreams was like, wow, that didn't really happen. It was so vivid. And it was just like, wow. And it was always amazing because I would show my daughter pictures of my dad, and I was like, who is that? And she'd go, Grandpa. And she'd look at me like, what, you don't know who that is?
Yeah,
But it
exactly
was,
right.
yeah, it's amazing. It's
It's
amazing. But
amazing what they know.
yeah, but I think a lot of things I do that I do right is because of him. Because I always feel like, he's looking down on me.
Mhm.
And I want him to be proud of me. Now, I'm not perfect. I've made
Yeah,
mistakes. I've done some
yeah, no
things
one
that,
is. Yeah.
yeah, I've done some things that I wish I could go back and change.
We
But
all have, but thank God we didn't have the internet.
yeah, but for the most part, I've always tried to do things to where if he is watching me, he's going,
Right.
yeah, yeah, he's okay.
You got an
And
angel looking out for you.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, for
Not
sure.
only do you have one, but she has one.
yeah, yeah. All of my kids do, and they none of them never met him, but when I show them photos, they automatically know that's Grandpa.
Aw.
That's Grandpa, no question. And they've all told me that they wish they could have met him, and I said, well, he's met you. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You just don't know it. You just
Yeah.
don't know it.
He hangs out with you all the time, don't you know?
Yes, he does.
Exactly, exactly. Well, that's awesome, man. I just want to say thanks from the bottom of my heart coming on here. We we talked about life, right? We talked about overcoming trauma, especially for you at a young age, at 12 years old, and your authentic self, right? Just like what's on your shirt, keep moving forward. That's what you did, and I think that sends a resounding message to everybody that you're going through some tough times, but it's not the end. It's the journey, and you'll get there for sure where we need to be. So on behalf of all the 50,000 people that are watching, I'm glad you weren't nervous at all. By the way, for everybody that's
Haven't you mentioned
watching, right? Like,
50,000?
and I hope, yeah, right. I hope this gets put out and with your tribe and your crew, same way with mine, and then people get to see the authentic Jason that I knew and grew up with, but they only see you as Officer Miller. And so having that other side of things, I think that's super, super great. So thanks for coming on here. Thanks for being part of Essex County, right? Serving and protecting the people of Essex County.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Single day. No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And there's some more stuff we'd love to get into, but we like to keep it at an hour. So we'll have to have you back again for sure. And there's some other things that you brought up that I took some notes on that I want to go back and touch on for sure. So we'll have you back for a part 2, and we were easy today. We didn't ask any hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it before.
I do have one last question.
Sure.
So, well, actually 2. What advice would you give to somebody joining the police force in today's society?
It is tough. It is tough. You have to really want it.
Mm-hmm.
I teach at the academy as well. And one of the things I do with the cadets is usually my block of instruction, I have them for about a week. And I tell them that they have a homework assignment. And their homework assignment is to write down why they got into law enforcement. And I tell them, I say, I want to help people. We all got into this to help people. And I don't want to, I get to drive fast and run blue lights and wear a badge. We all like that part.
Right.
I want an earnest answer, a well thought out answer, why you got into law enforcement. Write it down. And I don't tell them what we're going to do with it. But the last day we have a debrief, and I have all the students read why they got into law enforcement. Some of them are emotional. Like we've had tears.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And and a lot of them were, because when they were a kid, they saw a police officer do something amazing, like save them or save someone else or really help them out. A lot of them were like that.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, and I can't take credit for this because a friend of mine did this for me. And I just stole it from him and ran with it. And I told him I was going to steal it, and he laughs all the time. And he said, "Well, if it ever goes anywhere, I want my royalties." But I told him, I said, now that you have that, and now that you have read why you got into law enforcement, I want you to keep this piece of paper somewhere where you won't lose it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it's in your vest, locked up in a box, something like that, because you're going to have days where everyone you meet is going to be, it's like they would just rather spit on you than shake your hand.
Right.
Your administrative staff is going to be on you about stuff that you're just like unbelievable, because you can't understand what they have going on compared to what you have going on. You're gonna have days when you don't feel like going to work. You're gonna be tired. You're gonna be hurting. You're gonna be sick, and you're gonna say, you know what? I don't know if this is for me. I want you to go back and get that piece of paper, and I want you to read that. And if it still means something to you, stay in the fight. You're just having a rough time.
That's right.
But if you read that piece of paper and you go, yeah, I just don't feel the same. There's no shame in saying, you know what, this isn't for me anymore.
Right.
But out of that, the whole thing I would say for someone new, just realize that it's thankless. You're not going to get a lot of pats on the back. You're not going to get a lot of thank yous and kudos, but those few that you get are worth it.
Yes.
Enjoy it and let it fuel you. Yeah, you got to. It has to fuel you. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. The last question. Mm-hmm. What is something no one knows about you?
What? You put him on the spot.
Yes.
Someone knows.
That's what we do here.
There's someone that knows something about me. So there's nothing that no one knows about me.
Well, okay. Just your inner circle then. What is something that the world doesn't know about you? Something you do, a hobby you have, something kooky, whatever.
A hobby that I have. Nothing kooky. Okay, I do have a guilty pleasure.
There it is.
I still watch pro wrestling.
Oh, yes!
That's awesome.
I still watch pro. Yes, I know I'm not one of those guys. It's real. No.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, it is real. All right.
I'm not one of those guys. I know it's scripted, but I still enjoy it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that.
I still enjoy it. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I because of my schedule, I don't get to watch it exactly when it comes on, but thank goodness for DVR and and cloud storage. I get to watch it later, and that's my thing. I still love wrestling.
I think it affords you time just to disconnect and just and it's like you said, it's a guilty pleasure, right? But it is so just to not, it's just to be in there and enjoy it. It's so funny. So in the military, all the squadrons will have their little chants, right? Like they'll say something. Like the senior enlisted leader will stand up and say something, and the whole crowd will echo it. In the 16th, I would stand up and I'd say crows, and then everybody would yell, "Join the murder!" Right? So that was kind of the thing. And the security forces squadron that's here at Eglin, the senior enlisted leader will stand up and say, "Can I get 2 claps and a Ric Flair?" And everybody goes, "Woo!" Everybody. It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Every time I crack up laughing every time. Can I get 2 claps and a Ric Flair?
And the timing is probably spot on too.
Right.
So, Jason,
everybody does it.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'm so happy to meet you. If you want to stay back for a couple minutes after we end the stream, I would be very, very appreciative. Scott, thank you for finally creating a space in your schedule so that you could be my guest host.
Man, I appreciate it. And for the folks that don't know, like I have a son that's training for the 2028 Olympics, and it's nonstop, right? It is nonstop. Matter of fact, Stacy just left to go get him from strength training, and then we have a Zoom meeting with a coach tonight, actually. So That starts in like
That's
5
awesome.
minutes.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you out of here, man.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So,
That's
but
awesome.
to everybody out there, and to you, Jason, and to all our emergency responders, fire, police, EMS, active duty military, I say this from the bottom of my heart. When you feel like you're alone, and we've all been there, and it sucks. You have a community that's standing by, right? Whether it's a nonprofit organization, whether it's Back to Blue, whatever it is there. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out to folks and saying, hey, like, I need help, whether it's calling Dr. Royster, calling me, whomever. So all of our people out there, let's not be too proud, right? No matter what's going on in your life. Lean in. If you need help, get help, right? Like use the crisis hotline. You have all these wonderful people standing by that love you wholeheartedly and are there to help and will walk through the flame with you side by side, right? And Jason, I know you've done this. You know, you go to a scene and there's a dude that's, you know, he's suicidal or he's been drinking too much and not having the right thoughts. And you're the dude that's going to stay there with them all the way through the end. And for that, we love you. Thank you. That is amazing.
Well, thank you for your support.
Well, thank you, everybody who's viewed this. We appreciate you. If you want to be on the show, you can send an email to Unstoppable Overcomers or send a message on here when you see this. If you need help, you got any suicidal ideation, or you're just really struggling with some mental health symptoms, reach out to sempermotisllc.com. We are here to serve you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Scott. It was wonderful having you guys. Thank you, Scott. I'm exhausted, so I appreciate you so much. And everyone out there, please be safe and take care of each other.